A pregnant nun was kicked out of her convent, but the billionaire made her his sacred wife. Hannah Sousa's rosary slipped through her trembling fingers as Mother Helena's cold decree shattered everything she'd ever known. You must leave before sunset. But beyond those iron gates that closed on her faith, a man haunted by loneliness was about to discover that redemption doesn't always come from heaven. Sometimes it arrives broken, pregnant, and desperate on a rooftop terrace. Before we dive into this story, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And if you believe love can rewrite even the most condemned stories, hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow I have another powerful story that you won't want to miss. Now let's begin. The courtyard stones felt colder than they ever had before. Hannah Sousa stood perfectly still, her blue habit clinging to the curve of her belly, a belly that had become evidence, accusation, and judgment all at once. "Pack your belongings," the woman before her said. No warmth, no mercy, just finality wrapped in black cloth and white coif. Around the edges of the courtyard, other sisters lingered. Their faces turned away, but their presence spoke volumes. Witnesses to a fall, spectators to shame. Anna recognized each one: Sister Catherine, who used to laugh during kitchen duties; Sister Teresa, who sang morning prayers with such joy; Sister Beatrice, whose hands once held hers during meditation. Now those same hands clutched prayer books like shields. Father Gabriel emerged from the chapel entrance. His steps faltered when he saw the scene unfolding. For one brief moment, their eyes met across the cobblestones. Anna waited for him to speak, to defend, to acknowledge. He looked down. Then he turned back inside. That single motion broke something in Anna that all the harsh words could not. The man who had whispered promises in the garden shadows, who had told her she was beautiful in the sacristy darkness, who had made her believe their connection was ordained by something greater, that man now retreated into sanctuary while she stood exposed. "Did you hear me?" The sharp voice pulled Anna back. "You have until evening prayer, then these gates close to you forever." "Yes, Mother Superior." Anna's voice came out smaller than she intended. "And the situation?" The older woman's gaze dropped briefly to Anna's stomach, then snapped back up as if the sight burned. "I will manage. You should have thought of managing before you defiled sacred vows." The words landed like stones. Anna wanted to scream that she hadn't defiled anything alone, that there was another person responsible, that the man now hiding in the chapel bore equal weight in this sin. But what good would it do? The church protected its own, and she apparently no longer counted among them. As the Mother Superior swept away, her robes making that familiar swishing sound Anna had heard every day for 6 years, the other sisters began to disperse. All except one. Sister Miriam approached slowly, glancing over her shoulder. When she reached Anna, she pressed something into her palm, a small cloth bundle and several folded bills. "Bread," she whispered, "and what I've saved from my family visits." "I can't." "You can, you must." Sister Miriam's eyes glistened. "What they're doing at it isn't right. God sees, God knows." Then she too was gone. Anna stood alone in the courtyard, where she'd once felt such peace, where she'd prayed every morning at dawn, where she'd found purpose after her parents died, where she'd believed she belonged. She thought back to the day she took her vows, 20 years old, kneeling before the altar, feeling chosen, feeling loved, feeling like she'd found home. The years that followed had been simple: rising for lauds, working in the convent kitchen, tending the garden, helping at the Sunday school, praying vespers, sleeping in a narrow bed with a clear conscience, until 8 months ago. Until the night Father Gabriel asked her to help organize donated books in the rectory library. Until his hand touched hers while reaching for the same volume. Until everything she thought she knew about devotion got confused with something else entirely. She'd been so stupid, so naive. He told her their love was holy, that sometimes divine plans worked in mysterious ways, that what they shared transcended ordinary rules. She'd believed him. Now she carried the consequence, while he carried on with his priesthood. Anna walked to her small dormitory room. It took only minutes to gather her possessions. They fit in a single canvas bag: a change of clothes, a worn Bible, the rosary her mother had given her before dying, a photograph of her parents, a journal she'd kept for years. that was all. 6 years of her life condensed into items that barely filled a bag. When evening bells rang for prayer, Anna lifted her bag and walked toward the iron gates. Behind her, sacred hymns rose from the chapel. Voices she recognized, singing words she'd memorized, continuing a rhythm she would no longer keep. The gates opened. She stepped through. They closed behind her with a clang that echoed through the empty street. Across the city, on a rooftop terrace bathed in golden light, John Gray accepted another handshake he didn't want. "Magnificent event, Mr. Gray," the mayor said, beaming. "Your foundation's work with displaced women is truly remarkable." "Thank you." John smiled the smile he'd perfected. Polite, professional, empty. Champagne flowed. String quartet music drifted through carefully arranged floral displays. Politicians networked. Investors laughed. Religious leaders discussed theology over catered hors d'oeuvres. Everyone looked beautiful under the warm light strung across the terrace. John felt absolutely nothing. "Sir, the Archbishop will arrive in 20 minutes. Michael Carter, his assistant, murmured at his elbow. John nodded without enthusiasm. Another dignitary to greet. Another speech to smile through. Another evening of being John Gray, billionaire philanthropist, rather than John Gray, human being. He'd built this empire himself. Started with nothing after his father died, leaving only debt. Worked brutal hours. Made ruthless decisions. Accumulated wealth most people couldn't fathom. Earned respect from every corner of society. And yet, standing on this rooftop surrounded by hundreds of people, he'd never felt more alone. "Excuse me," he told Michael, moving toward the edge of the terrace where the crowd thinned. That's when he saw her. "If you'll excuse me," he said abruptly, already moving. Anna's vision blurred at the edges. She'd walked for hours after leaving the convent, her feet carrying her through familiar streets that suddenly felt foreign. Everywhere she looked, she saw churches, crosses, religious statues, reminders of the life that had expelled her. Hunger gnawed at her stomach. She'd eaten the bread Sister Miriam gave her, but it hadn't been enough. Not for her, not for the baby. The baby. Anna still couldn't quite believe it. A life growing inside her, innocent, unwanted by everyone except her. What would she do? Where would she go? The money Sister Miriam provided might cover a few nights in a cheap hostel, but then what? She'd climbed the stairs to this rooftop without thinking, drawn by the sound of music and the smell of food. Maybe she could ask for water. Maybe someone would have pity. But seeing the wealth on display, the jewels, the suits, the careless abundance, made her feel even more invisible. These people lived in a different world, a world where problems were solved with money, where mistakes could be buried under influence and power. Not like her world, where one mistake meant complete destruction. Dizziness swept through her. The rooftop tilted. "Miss?" The voice came from nearby, deep concerned. Anna turned too quickly and her legs buckled. Strong hands caught her before she hit the ground. "Steady," the voice said. "I've got you." She looked up into grey eyes, the color of storm clouds, but warmer somehow. The man holding her arms wore an expensive suit, his dark hair slightly silver at the temples. Late 30s, maybe 40. Handsome in that polished way wealthy men often were. "I'm sorry," Anna managed. "I shouldn't be here. I just needed—" "Sit." He guided her firmly to a nearby bench tucked in a quieter corner of the terrace. "When did you last eat?" The directness of the question caught her off guard. "This morning, some bread." His expression darkened. "Nothing since." She shook her head, embarrassed. "Wait here." It wasn't a request. He disappeared into the crowd before she could protest. Anna sat frozen, aware of curious glances from passing guests. She didn't belong here. Everything about her screamed outsider. Her simple cotton dress, her worn shoes, her lack of jewelry or makeup. The man returned minutes later carrying a plate piled with food. Roasted chicken, vegetables, fresh bread, fruit. He set it in her lap, along with a bottle of water. "Eat slowly," he instructed, sitting beside her. "You'll make yourself sick otherwise." Anna stared at the plate. "I can't afford—" "I'm not asking you to pay." His tone gentled. "Please, eat." She did, trying to maintain some dignity while her body screamed for sustenance. The food tasted like heaven. Real chicken, seasoned properly. Vegetables that weren't boiled into mush. Bread that wasn't stale. He watched her quietly, not speaking, not judging. Just present. After several minutes, Anna felt human again. strong enough to think clearly. She set the plate aside, half-finished despite her hunger. "Thank you, that was kind." "You're welcome." He extended his hand. "John Gray." She hesitated before taking it. His palm was warm, his grip gentle. "Anna Sousa." "Anna?" He said her name like he was testing how it felt. "Are you all right? Beyond the hunger, I mean." Such a simple question, such an impossible answer. "I'm managing," she lied. "You're trembling." She pulled her hand back, tucking both hands in her lap. "Just cold. It's 70 degrees. Silence stretched between them. Anna felt his gaze taking in details. Her wrinkled dress, her lack of purse, the way she kept glancing toward the exit like a trapped animal seeking escape. "Where are you staying tonight?" he asked finally. "I have plans," she said quickly. Too quickly. "Anna," his voice carried no accusation, only concern. "Where are you staying?" Her throat tightened. She couldn't answer. Couldn't admit that she had nowhere, that she was homeless, pregnant, and completely alone in a city that suddenly felt hostile. "I should go." She stood, swaying slightly. John stood too, his hand hovering near her elbow without touching. "You can barely stand." "I'll be fine." "You're not fine." He stepped into her line of sight, forcing her to meet his eyes. "And I'm not letting you leave here without somewhere safe to go." "You don't know me." "I know you're hungry, exhausted, and scared. That's enough." Anna's eyes burned. "Don't cry, don't you dare cry in front of this stranger." "Why do you care?" The question seemed to surprise him. He was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke, his voice carried an honesty that made her chest ache. "Because everyone here is pretending to care about charity, while drinking champagne that costs more than most people's rent. And you actually need help. Real help. So let me give it." "I don't accept charity." "Then accept hospitality." He pulled out his phone. "I have a guest room in my penthouse. It's empty. It has a lock on the door. You can stay there tonight. No strings, no expectations. Tomorrow, when you're rested and fed, you can decide what comes next." Every instinct told her to refuse, to maintain whatever shreds of dignity remained. But Anna thought about sleeping on a park bench, about the baby, about how sometimes pride was a luxury she could no longer afford. "Just tonight," she whispered. Relief crossed his features. "Just tonight," he agreed. 20 minutes later, Anna stepped out of John Gray's private elevator into a penthouse that belonged in magazines, not reality. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the glittering city. Modern furniture in shades of grey and white filled the massive space. Abstract art hung on exposed brick walls. Everything screamed wealth, taste, and a life so removed from hers it might as well exist on another planet. John set her bag down, the single canvas bag that held everything she owned, and moved to the kitchen. "Are you still hungry?" Anna couldn't speak. She could only stand there staring at this impossible place, wondering how her life had gone from Convent courtyard to Billionaire's penthouse in the span of a single day. "Anna?" She turned to find him watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read, something between curiosity and concern, with an undercurrent of loneliness that mirrored her own. "Who are you?" she breathed. He smiled slightly, sadly. "Just someone who knows what it feels like to be alone in a crowded room." And standing in that vast, beautiful, empty penthouse, Anna realized that wealth didn't protect anyone from isolation. It just gave you more space to feel it in. Anna woke to sunlight streaming through windows that stretched from floor to ceiling. For a disorienting moment, she forgot where she was. Then memory returned. The convent, the expulsion, the rooftop, the stranger who'd brought her here. John Gray. She sat up slowly, taking in the guest room. It was larger than the entire dormitory she'd shared with 5 other sisters. The bed felt like sleeping on clouds. A private bathroom gleamed with marble and chrome. Fresh towels had been laid out. Everything was pristine, untouched, like a hotel room awaiting its first guest. She showered for the first time in what felt like forever, letting hot water wash away more than just dirt. When she emerged, she found clean clothes folded outside the bathroom door, simple leggings and an oversized sweater, tags still attached. Her size exactly. How had he known? Anna dressed and ventured out into the main living space. Morning light filled the penthouse, making everything look even more surreal than it had last night. She moved quietly, trailing her fingers along the back of a leather sofa, studying framed photographs on shelves. John at various charity events, John shaking hands with politicians, John standing beside an elegant older woman who had to be his mother. No photos of friends, no casual snapshots, just public moments frozen in glass frames. "Coffee?" She startled, turning to find John in the kitchen area. He wore casual clothes, jeans and a grey Henley, looking more human than the suited businessman from last night. His hair was slightly mussed, and he held 2 mugs. "I don't want to impose," Anna said automatically. "So you're not?" He set both mugs on the counter. "I made breakfast too. I wasn't sure what you'd like, so there's toast, eggs, fruit. Help yourself." The spread on the counter could feed 10 people. Anna's stomach growled despite her embarrassment. They ate in companionable silence. John didn't press her with questions or demand explanations for her presence. He simply existed beside her, occasionally glancing her way with that same curious expression from last night. "The clothes," Anna said finally. "Thank you. How did you—" "I asked my assistant to arrange it. Michael is efficient." John sipped his coffee. "Keep them, and if you need anything else, just say so." "I can't keep accepting things from you." "Why not?" The question stumped her. Because it felt wrong? Because she'd been taught that charity diminished both giver and receiver? Because accepting help meant admitting how desperately she needed it? "I don't even know you," she said instead. "Then get to know me." His grey eyes held hers. "I'm not going anywhere today, are you?" Anna realized she had no answer. No plans, no destination, nowhere to be and no one expecting her. The freedom of it felt terrifying. They spent the day in strange, comfortable orbit around each other. John worked from his home office, while Anna explored the penthouse with growing fascination. She discovered a library filled with books on philosophy, business, and surprisingly, theology. A music room with a piano that looked unplayed. A gym that appeared well used. Everything was beautiful and empty, like a museum exhibit of a life rather than a life actually lived. By evening, she found herself on the balcony, watching the city transform into a sea of lights. The air had cooled. She wrapped her arms around herself, feeling the slight swell of her belly beneath the sweater. What was she doing here? What happened tomorrow, next week? How long could she hide in this borrowed sanctuary? Beautiful, isn't it? John stepped onto the balcony carrying a blanket. He draped it over her shoulders without asking permission, then leaned against the railing beside her. "I've lived here 5 years," he said quietly. "Sometimes I forget to actually look at it." "The view?" "Everything." He gestured vaguely at the penthouse behind them. "You accumulate things, space, possessions, success. Then one day you realize you're surrounded by everything you thought you wanted and you feel empty," Anna finished. "Yes." They stood in silence, watching the city breathe below them. Anna felt the weight of secrets pressing against her ribs. This man had shown her kindness, offered shelter, asked nothing in return. He deserved honesty. "I was a nun," she said softly. John went very still beside her. "For 6 years I lived in St. Maribel Convent. I took vows of poverty, chastity, obedience. I believed—" her voice cracked. "I believed I was serving something greater than myself." "What happened?" Anna closed her eyes. "Father Gabriel happened." The story spilled out then. All of it. The gradual friendship that became something else. The late-night conversations that turned into touches. The way he'd made her feel special, chosen, loved. How he'd convinced her their connection was divine. How she'd believed him until it was too late. "When I discovered I was pregnant, I thought—" She laughed bitterly. "I thought he'd protect me, stand by me. Instead, he transferred to another parish the same day they expelled me. He chose his priesthood, his reputation, his comfort." "And left you with nothing," John said, his voice tight with controlled anger. "With less than nothing. With shame and judgment and a child no one wants." "You want the child." It wasn't a question, but Anna answered anyway. "More than anything, this baby is innocent. Whatever sin I committed, it wasn't this child's fault." John turned to face her fully. In the dim balcony light, his expression was intense, furious, and heartbreakingly tender all at once. "What they did to you, what he did, was wrong. Unconscionable. You gave them your faith, your service, your trust, and they threw you away to protect a system that values appearances over truth. The church says—" "I don't care what the church says." His hands clenched the railing. "I care that a young woman who dedicated her life to serving others got abandoned when she needed support most. Where was Christian charity then? Where was mercy, forgiveness?" Tears streamed down Anna's face. She'd spent weeks internalizing the shame, believing she deserved the punishment. Hearing someone defend her with such conviction felt like oxygen after drowning. "You're angry," she whispered. "I'm furious, not at you, for you." John reached out, then hesitated, his hand hovering between them. "May I?" She nodded, and he gently wiped tears from her cheek with his thumb. The touch sent electricity through her. Anna's breath caught. John's eyes darkened, his gaze dropping to her lips. They swayed toward each other, pulled by something neither could name. His breath warmed her face another inch, and Anna jerked back, panic flooding her chest. "I can't," she gasped. "I'm sorry, I can't. Not again, not after—" "Hey!" John's voice was soft, steady. He stepped back immediately, giving her space. "It's okay, Anna, it's okay. I'm broken," she said desperately. "I'm pregnant with another man's child. I have nothing, I am nothing. You shouldn't—" "Stop." The word was gentle but firm. "You're not broken, you're hurt. There's a difference." "You don't understand. Then help me understand. But don't tell me you're nothing when I can see how much strength it takes just to keep standing." His expression was open, honest. "I'm not asking anything from you. I'm offering safety, space, time to figure out what comes next." "Why?" The question tore from her throat. "Why are you being kind to me?" John was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried a vulnerability that matched her own. "Because loneliness recognizes loneliness. Because I've spent years surrounded by people who want something from me. My money, my connections, my name. And you don't want anything except a chance to survive. That's the most honest thing I've encountered in a decade." Anna searched his face, looking for deception, for hidden motives. She found only sincerity and a bone-deep loneliness that mirrored her own. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "Of me?" "Of trusting again, of believing kindness is real, of letting my guard down and getting destroyed when it's ripped away." "I can't promise I won't hurt you," John said. "I'm human, flawed, probably more damaged than you realize, but I can promise I won't lie to you, and I won't abandon you for being imperfect." The words settled over her like the blanket on her shoulders, warm, protective, real. "Okay," Anna whispered. "Okay? Okay, I'll stay for now until I figure things out." Relief softened John's features. "That's all I'm asking." They stayed on the balcony as darkness deepened, talking about everything and nothing. About faith and doubt, about loneliness in crowds versus loneliness in silence, about fear of never mattering versus fear of mattering too much. Hours passed like minutes. When Anna finally retreated to the guest room, exhausted and emotionally wrung out, John remained on the balcony staring at the city lights without seeing them. Something had shifted tonight. Some invisible line had been crossed. He thought about how Anna had looked sharing her story, vulnerable and strong, broken and whole, ashamed and defiant all at once. He thought about her tears, her fear, her desperate need to believe kindness could exist without conditions. He thought about the way his chest had tightened when she pulled away from their almost kiss, not with rejection but with terror of being hurt again. And he realized, with a clarity that was both thrilling and terrifying, that he was falling in love with her, a pregnant ex-nun he'd met yesterday. A woman society would condemn him for wanting. A person so different from his world she might as well be from another universe. He should be cautious, logical, self-protective. Instead, standing alone on his balcony, John Gray made a decision that would change everything. He was going to fight for her. 3 weeks passed like a dream Anna kept waiting to wake from. She and John fell into a rhythm. Morning coffee together, afternoons spent in comfortable silence or deep conversation, evenings on the balcony where the city lights made everything feel possible. He worked from home more often, claiming it was more efficient. She suspected he simply didn't want to leave her alone. The guest room became hers in small increments. Books she borrowed from his library piled on the nightstand. Prenatal vitamins appeared in the bathroom, her few belongings spread across surfaces, marking territory in this borrowed life. They didn't kiss again, didn't cross that invisible line, but the air between them hummed with possibility, with growing tenderness that felt both dangerous and inevitable. Anna had stopped asking when she should leave. John had stopped suggesting she needed to go anywhere. They existed in a beautiful, fragile bubble that was always destined to burst. It burst on a Tuesday morning when Eleanor Gray arrived unannounced. Anna was in the kitchen making tea when the private elevator doors opened. She looked up, expecting Michael with documents for John to sign. Instead, an immaculately dressed woman in her mid-60s stepped out, her silver hair swept into an elegant chignon, pearls at her throat, designer handbag on her arm. Their eyes met across the open living space. Eleanor's gaze swept over Anna with surgical precision, taking in the oversized sweater, the visible pregnancy, the bare feet, the comfort with which she moved through the penthouse. "Who?" Eleanor said coldly. "Are you?" Before Anna could answer, John emerged from his office. He froze when he saw his mother. "Eleanor." His tone held warning. "What are you doing here?" "I might ask you the same question." Eleanor's attention never left Anna. "Since when do you keep pregnant strays in your home?" "Don't." John crossed the space in quick strides, positioning himself slightly in front of Anna. "Don't speak to her that way." "Oh, I see." Eleanor's laugh was sharp, brittle. "Tell me, dear, how much is he paying you, or are you hoping for more? A ring, perhaps, a claim to the Grey fortune?" "Mother, I'm not—" Anna started, but her voice failed. "She's my guest," John said firmly, "and you need to leave." "Your guest?" Eleanor's eyebrows arched. "John, darling, I wasn't born yesterday. This girl is living here, wearing clothes you clearly purchased, making herself at home in your kitchen. Don't insult my intelligence." "Her name is Anna Sousa, and yes, she's staying here temporarily." "Temporarily?" Eleanor repeated the word like it tasted foul. She turned her full attention to Anna. "Let me guess. You're in trouble. He played hero, and now you're milking his kindness for everything it's worth. It's almost textbook." Heat flooded Anna's face. "It's not like that." "Really? Then enlighten me. What is it like?" "Eleanor, that's enough." John's voice dropped to a dangerous quiet. "Anna is under my protection. What happens in my home is none of your concern." "None of my concern?" Eleanor's composure cracked. "You're my son, the heir to the Grey legacy. Everything you do reflects on this family, and right now you're harboring some pregnant—" "Finish that sentence," John said softly, "and I will ask security to remove you." Mother and son stared at each other. The air crackled with tension. Eleanor recovered first, smoothing her expression into icy control. "Fine, let's speak privately, unless your guest is privy to family business now." "Anna stays." "John, she stays or this conversation ends." Eleanor's jaw tightened, but she nodded curtly. She moved to the living area, settling on the sofa like a queen on a throne. John sat across from her. Anna remained standing, feeling like an intruder in a space she'd begun to think of as home. "The board is concerned," Eleanor began without preamble. "You've missed 3 meetings, declined 2 major investment opportunities, turned down the governor's dinner invitation. People are talking, John. They're wondering if something is wrong." "Nothing is wrong. I'm simply reassessing my priorities." "Your priorities?" Eleanor's gaze flickered to Anna. "I see, and does this reassessment include throwing away everything your father and I built? Everything you've worked for?" "See, I'm not throwing anything away." "Aren't you?" Eleanor leaned forward. "The moment word gets out that you're involved with a pregnant woman of dubious background, the vultures will circle. Competitors will use it against you. Investors will question your judgment. The family name will be dragged through tabloid mud. Let them talk." "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious." John's expression was granite. "I'm tired, Mother. Tired of performing. Tired of living for other people's approval. Tired of pretending the Grey legacy matters more than my own happiness." "Happiness?" Eleanor's laugh was sharp. "You sound like a teenager. Happiness is a luxury, John. Power, influence, legacy. Those are what matter. Those are what endure. And what good is endurance if you're miserable?" The question hung in the air. Eleanor's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something that might have been pain before freezing back into aristocratic disdain. "I won't let you destroy yourself," she said quietly. "Not for some girl who—" "Stop calling her some girl." John stood abruptly. "Her name is Anna. She's educated, kind, and stronger than anyone I've ever met. She deserves respect, not your contempt." "You're defending her." Eleanor's voice filled with disbelief. My God, you actually care about her? Yes, I do. Then you're a fool. Eleanor rose, gathering her handbag. I'm giving you 1 week to end this situation. Send her away with whatever money she needs. Then you'll attend the Vanderbilt benefit with me, smile for the cameras, and we'll repair whatever damage this has caused. No. No? No, Mother, I'm not sending Anna anywhere, and I'm not attending your benefit. Eleanor's face went pale, then flushed with fury. If you continue this path, there will be consequences. The board will demand answers. Investors will withdraw. Your inheritance... I don't care about the inheritance. You're willing to risk everything. Your company, your standing, your family name, for what? A pregnant nobody you met a month ago. 3 weeks, John corrected quietly. And yes, I'd risk all of it. The words struck Anna like physical blows. She'd been silent throughout the confrontation, watching this world she didn't understand tear itself apart. But hearing John stake everything for her made bile rise in her throat. This was wrong. All of it. Eleanor swept toward the elevator, pausing at the threshold. When this falls apart, and it will, don't come begging for my help. The elevator doors closed on her icy expression. Silence filled the penthouse. John, Anna started. Don't. He turned to her, his face drawn. Whatever you're about to say, don't. She's right. Anna's voice trembled. I'm destroying your life. You're not. I am. The words burst from her. Your mother is right. I'm nobody. I have nothing, and you're risking everything for me. Your business, your family, your reputation. It's not fair. It's not right. Anna, I have to leave. She was already moving toward the guest room, her chest tight with panic. I should have left weeks ago. I was selfish, stupid. I let myself believe... John caught her arm gently, stopping her flight. Believe what? That this could work. That someone like you could want someone like me, that I deserved... Her voice broke. Deserved what? Kindness without conditions, safety without shame, you. Tears streamed down her face. But your mother made me see clearly. I'm ruining you. You're saving me. The words stopped her completely. John cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. Before you walked into my life, I was empty. Successful, wealthy, respected, and absolutely empty. You gave me purpose, meaning, something real to care about. I'm pregnant with another man's child. I don't care. The world will judge you. Let them. Your family chose money over love a long time ago. You're choosing love over everything. That makes you braver than any of them. Anna's chest heaved with suppressed sobs. I can't let you sacrifice everything for me. Then don't. John's thumbs wiped away her tears. Marry me instead. The world stopped. What? Marry me, Anna. His voice was steady, certain, terrifying in its sincerity. Not because you need protection or I need redemption. Marry me because in 3 weeks you've become the most important person in my world. Because when you smile, I remember what joy feels like. Because I want to raise your child as mine. Because I'm falling in love with you. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you're kind even when the world is cruel. I know you're strong even when you feel broken. I know you make tea at exactly 6 a.m. and read on the balcony at sunset. I know you hum when you think no one is listening. I know you're terrified of trusting again, but you keep trying anyway. His expression was raw, vulnerable. Marry me, Anna. Choose me the way I'm choosing you. This is insane. Probably. But it's also the first honest thing I've felt in years. Anna searched his face, looking for doubt, for hesitation. She found only certainty, and a love so fierce it took her breath away. Say yes, John whispered. Please say yes. Every rational thought screamed at her to refuse, to protect him from the scandal, to save him from the judgment that would follow. But looking into his grey eyes, Anna realized something crucial. She didn't want to protect him from loving her. She wanted to be brave enough to love him back. Yes, she breathed. Yes, I'll marry you. John's smile transformed his entire face. He kissed her then, gentle, reverent, full of promise. Anna melted into him, letting herself believe that maybe, impossibly, this could be real. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, John pressed his forehead to hers. We'll marry quickly, he said, quietly, before Eleanor can interfere or the press catches wind. Just us and whatever witnesses we need. A secret wedding. For now, until we're ready to face everything together. Anna nodded, her heart racing with fear and hope and something that felt dangerously like happiness. She was marrying a billionaire she'd known 3 weeks. She was choosing love over safety. She was betting everything on a man who'd already bet everything on her. It was reckless. It was beautiful. It was their only chance. "When?" she asked. John kissed her again, softly. "As soon as possible." And standing in the sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, Anna Sousa, expelled nun, pregnant, homeless, judged, allowed herself to believe in miracles one more time. The City Hall waiting room smelled like old coffee and bureaucracy. Anna sat on a plastic chair, smoothing the simple white dress John had somehow procured overnight. It wasn't a wedding gown, just a knee-length cotton dress with delicate lace at the collar, but it made her feel beautiful anyway. Across from her, Sofia Mendez squeezed her hand. Her childhood friend had cried when Anna called her yesterday, then traveled 2 hours to be here without hesitation. "You're shaking," Sofia whispered. "I'm terrified," Anna admitted. "Of marrying him? Of believing this is real." Michael Carter stood near the entrance, checking his watch. John's assistant had arranged everything with quiet efficiency: the license, the appointment, the witnesses. If he had opinions about his employer marrying a woman he'd met 3 weeks ago, his professional mask revealed nothing. "He'll be here," Michael said, as if reading Anna's anxiety. 5 minutes later, John arrived. He wore a dark suit, no tie, his hair slightly windswept. When his eyes found Anna, everything else disappeared. He crossed the room and took both her hands. "You came?" she breathed. "Did you think I wouldn't? I thought you might wake up and realize this is crazy." John smiled. "I woke up realizing I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life. That's the opposite of crazy." "Mr. Gray?" A clerk appeared in the doorway. "We're ready for you." The ceremony room was small, utilitarian, nothing like the grand church wedding Anna had once imagined for herself as a girl. No flowers, no music, no guests beyond Sophia and Michael. Just harsh fluorescent lighting and a bored officiant who'd probably performed 3 weddings already that morning. Yet when John took her hands and spoke his vows, the room transformed into something sacred. "I, John Michael Gray, take you, Anna Maria Sousa, to be my wife. I promise to honor you, protect you, and choose you every day for the rest of my life. I promise to love your child as my own. I promise that whatever storms come, we face them together. This I vow before these witnesses with my whole heart." His voice never wavered. Anna's did. "I, Anna Maria Sousa, take you, John Michael Gray, to be my husband. I promise to trust you when trust feels impossible, to believe in us when the world says we're wrong, to love you not for what you can give me, but for who you are beneath everything else. This I vow with everything I have left to give." Tears streamed down her face. Sophia was crying too. Even Michael looked suspiciously bright-eyed. "The rings," the officiant prompted. John produced 2 simple gold bands, nothing ostentatious, nothing that screamed wealth, just solid, enduring circles of gold. He slid one onto Anna's finger. It fit perfectly. She slid one onto his. Her hands trembled so badly he had to steady them. "By the power vested in me by the state, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss." John cupped Anna's face gently, like she was something precious and fragile. Their kiss was soft, reverent, full of promise and fear and desperate hope. When they pulled apart, Anna was married. Anna Sousa was now Anna Gray, wife to a billionaire, mother-to-be to a child not his blood. Woman the world would never understand. "Hello, Mrs. Gray," John whispered against her forehead. Anna laughed through her tears. "Hello, husband." They signed papers. Sophia and Michael signed as witnesses. The officiant stamped documents with practiced efficiency. 10 minutes later, they stood on the City Hall steps, married, blinking in the afternoon sunlight. "Lunch," John suggested. "All 4 of us to celebrate." They found a small Italian restaurant 2 blocks away. Over pasta and wine, sparkling water for Anna, they toasted to love, to courage, to choosing joy despite everything. Sophia and Michael discovered they both loved old films. John told terrible jokes that made Anna laugh until her sides hurt. For 3 perfect hours, the world outside didn't exist. It came crashing back at 6 p.m. when Michael's phone started ringing. He stepped away to answer. his expression growing darker with each call. When he returned to the table, his professional mask had cracked. "Sir, we have a problem." Someone had photographed them leaving City Hall. The image was grainy but unmistakable. John Gray, billionaire philanthropist, with his arm around a visibly pregnant woman in white. The caption read, "Breaking, John Gray marries mystery woman in secret ceremony." Within an hour, the story exploded. By evening, every tabloid and news site carried versions of the same headline: "Billionaire's shocking secret wedding to pregnant stranger." By midnight, the story had evolved. John Gray marries pregnant ex-nun. Someone had found Anna's connection to St. Maribel Convent. The narrative practically wrote itself. Scandalous nun, forbidden pregnancy, billionaire savior. It had everything social media loved: religion, wealth, sex, shame, power. Anna watched the coverage from John's penthouse, her stomach churning with each new headline. Religious leaders condemn Gray wedding. Bishop Morris calls union mockery of sacred vows. St. Maribel Convent issues statement distancing from former member. The church that expelled her now used her name to generate press. The institution that showed her no mercy now claimed moral authority to judge her happiness. "Stop reading," John said, gently closing her laptop. "They're destroying you. They're revealing themselves. There's a difference." But the condemnation wasn't limited to religious authorities. By morning, the business world joined the attack. Gray Industries stock drops 12%, following marriage scandal. Major investors question John Gray's judgment. 3 board members demand emergency meeting. Michael arrived at 8 a.m. with a folder full of withdrawal notices. The Vanderbilt Foundation had pulled their partnership. 2 major investors wanted out of pending deals. A luxury hotel chain cancelled a development contract worth $40 million. "They're calling you reckless," Michael reported quietly, "saying you've compromised the company's reputation. The board wants you to issue a statement distancing yourself from the marriage or what? Or they'll call for a vote of no confidence." John's jaw tightened. "Let them vote." "John, I'm not apologizing for marrying my wife, and I'm not issuing any statement that suggests I made a mistake. If they want me gone, they can try to remove me." After Michael left, Anna found John standing at the window, his posture rigid with controlled fury. "This is my fault," she said quietly. "It's not. If you hadn't married me, then I'd still be empty, alone, and pretending to care about stock prices." He turned to face her. "Anna, they're not attacking you. They're attacking the fact that I chose love over their approval. That terrifies them because it reveals their values are meaningless. You're losing everything. I'm losing money and false friendships. I'm keeping the only thing that matters." He crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. "You, us, our family." Anna pressed her face against his chest, breathing him in. "I'm so sorry. Don't be. I'd do it again, every single time." The attacks continued for days. Each morning brought new condemnation. Editorials questioning John's mental state, think pieces about the dangers of impulsive decisions, anonymous sources claiming Anna was a gold digger who'd trapped him. John faced it all with quiet dignity. He attended board meetings, weathered investor calls, refused every interview request. He protected Anna fiercely, instructing building security to block all press, arranging for groceries to be delivered so she didn't have to face cameras. But the stress took its toll. Anna began having headaches, sharp pains that made her vision blur. She'd wake in the night, dizzy and nauseous beyond normal pregnancy symptoms. "So you need to see a doctor," John insisted after finding her gripping the bathroom sink one morning, her face pale. "It's just stress. It'll pass once the media moves on." "Anna, I'm fine." She wasn't fine. 2 days later, Anna was folding laundry, a domestic task that made her feel useful in this surreal life, when pain lanced through her abdomen. Sharp, terrible, wrong. She gasped, dropping the towel in her hands. "John?" He was in his office on a conference call. The pain intensified, radiating from her belly through her entire body. She tried to call for him again, but her voice wouldn't work. The room tilted. Anna reached for the counter, missed and felt herself falling. She heard John shout her name. Felt strong arms catch her before she hit the floor. Saw his face above hers, grey eyes wide with terror. "Anna, stay with me, Anna!" Her vision darkened at the edges. The last thing she heard before consciousness slipped away was John's voice, desperate and broken, calling for an ambulance. Then everything went black. Sterile white ceiling tiles, the rhythmic beep of monitors, antiseptic smell sharp in her nostrils. Anna's eyes fluttered open to fluorescent hospital lighting. For a terrifying moment, she couldn't remember why she was here. Then memory crashed back. The pain, the fall, the darkness. Her hand flew to her stomach. "The baby's okay." John's voice, rough with exhaustion, came from beside her bed. He looked haggard, unshaven, his eyes red-rimmed. "You're both okay." Relief flooded through her so intensely she sobbed. John was beside her instantly, gathering her carefully into his arms. "You scared me," he whispered into her hair. "Anna, you scared me so badly." "What happened?" "Severe preeclampsia. Your blood pressure was dangerously high. The doctors had to stabilize you." His arms tightened. "You've been unconscious for 18 hours. 18 hours, Anna processed this slowly. "The baby is being monitored. Heart rate is strong, but they want to deliver soon, maybe within the week. It's safer than risking further complications." Anna pulled back to look at him. "I'm only 7 months." "I know, the doctors say the baby will likely need NICU care, but the survival rate at this stage is excellent." His hand cupped her face. "You're both going to be fine." The door opened. A nurse entered, followed by someone Anna never expected to see. Eleanor Gray stood in the doorway, looking smaller somehow, her usual aristocratic composure fractured. She wore no makeup, her silver hair pulled back simply, her designer clothes replaced with ordinary slacks and a blouse. "Stay," Anna repeated. "If you mean what you said, then stay. Be here when your grandchild is born." "My grandchild?" Eleanor's voice broke completely. "Yes." Anna's hand rested on her belly. "This baby will need all the love available, including yours, if you're willing to give it." Eleanor pressed her hand to her mouth, tears flowing freely now. "I would be honored." For the first time since they'd met, Anna saw genuine warmth in Eleanor Gray's expression. "Thank you," Eleanor whispered. "Thank you for being more gracious than I deserve." Anna smiled tiredly. "We all deserve second chances." 5 days later, at 30 weeks gestation, Grace Isabella Gray entered the world weighing 4 pounds 2 ounces. She was perfect. Tiny, yes, requiring oxygen support and NICU care, but perfect, with John's grey eyes and Anna's dark hair, lungs that protested loudly when the nurses took her temperature, and fingers that gripped Anna's pinky with surprising strength. "Grace," John whispered, staring at the daughter in his arms with wonder, "because God's grace brought your mother to me, and Isabella for your grandmother." Eleanor, standing beside the hospital bed, openly wept. Anna watched her husband hold their daughter because that's what Grace was now, legally and in every way that mattered, and felt her heart expand beyond what she thought possible. This tiny, premature baby girl had a father who chose her before she was born, a grandmother who was learning to love without conditions, a mother who would fight the world to protect her. They were a family forged in scandal and born in defiance of judgment, and they were beautiful. 5 years later, Anna stood at the podium in St. Maribel Convent's courtyard, the same courtyard where she'd been expelled, facing 200 women who'd come to hear her speak. The Grace Foundation had grown beyond anything she'd imagined. What started as a small shelter for abandoned pregnant women had expanded to 7 locations across the state, serving thousands. John had funded it all, but Anna ran it, pouring her experience and pain into creating safe spaces others desperately needed. "I stood in this courtyard 5 years ago," Anna said, her voice steady, "believing I was unworthy, believing I deserved judgment, believing love was something I'd forfeited through my mistakes." In the front row, John sat holding Grace's hand. Their daughter, bright, curious, already reading at a second-grade level, watched her mother with adoring eyes. Beside them, Eleanor smiled with genuine pride. "But I learned something crucial," Anna continued. "Institutions can fail us, people can abandon us, systems can condemn us, but grace, real grace, exists beyond buildings and rules. It exists in the hands that catch us when we fall, in the love that chooses us when we feel unworthy, in the second chances we give ourselves and each other." Silence filled the courtyard. Mother Helena sat in the third row, visibly aged, her expression complex. 2 months ago she'd written Anna a letter, a formal, stiff apology for the harshness of that day. Anna had written back, offering forgiveness that surprised even herself. "The church that once expelled me," Anna said, looking directly at the current archbishop in attendance, "has since acknowledged that institutional protection of reputation over pastoral care was wrong. That acknowledgement matters. It doesn't erase the pain, but it opens doors for healing." The archbishop nodded solemnly. Last year, after extensive internal review, the diocese had issued a public apology to Anna and other women treated similarly. It hadn't made headlines the way her wedding had. Redemption never sold papers like scandal did. But it meant something. Anna concluded her speech to standing ovation. Afterward, women surrounded her, sharing stories, asking for advice, weeping with recognition. John hung back, giving her space to do the work that fed her soul. When they finally left, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. That evening, the Gray family gathered on their penthouse balcony. Grace sat between her parents, chattering about the preschool art project she wanted to start tomorrow. Eleanor had joined them for dinner, a weekly tradition now, and sat nearby, reading quietly. "Mama?" Grace looked up at Anna with those serious grey eyes. "The lady at your talk said you were brave. Are you brave?" Anna exchanged glances with John. "I think I was scared but did the hard thing anyway. That's what brave means. Like when I was scared of the dark, but went to bed without crying." Exactly like that. Grace considered this, then nestled against Anna's side. "I want to be brave like you when I grow up." Anna's eyes filled with tears. "You already are, sweetheart." After Grace fell asleep and Eleanor left, John and Anna remained on the balcony. Grace curled between them, the city lights spreading below like fallen stars. "Do you remember what you told me that first night?" John asked softly. "On this balcony?" "That I was broken. And I said you were hurt. There's a difference." Anna smiled. "You were right. Pain isn't the same as permanent damage. Sometimes it's just the breaking open that lets light in." John kissed her temple. "The world called you a scandal. I called you my salvation. And I thought you were a fantasy too good to be real. What do you think now?" Anna looked at their sleeping daughter, at this man who'd defied his entire world for her, at the life they'd built from ruins and refused to let judgment destroy. "I think sometimes God doesn't live in convents," she said quietly. "Sometimes he lives in the courage to love when it's easier to hide, in the choice to stay when leaving feels safer, in the sacred, ordinary moments of building a family against all odds." John's arms tightened around her. They called this marriage a mistake. They were wrong about everything that mattered. What did they miss? Anna turned to face him fully. This man who'd caught her when she fell and never let go. That you can't scandalize real love. You can only reveal who lacks the courage to choose it. John smiled, that genuine smile reserved only for her and Grace. "Mrs. Gray, you've become quite the philosopher." "Mrs. Gray," Anna repeated, still marveling at the name 5 years later. "Your sacred wife." "My sacred wife," he agreed, pulling her close. "Always." Below them, the city continued its endless motion, millions of lives intersecting, breaking apart, rebuilding. Somewhere in those lights, other women were being judged for mistakes, abandoned by institutions, told they were unworthy. Anna made a silent promise to keep fighting for them. Because she knew the truth now, lived it every day in this imperfect, beautiful, hard-won life. Redemption wasn't something you earned through suffering. It was something you claimed by refusing to believe the shame others assigned you. And love, real, defiant, choosing you anyway love, was the most sacred rebellion of all. Grace stirred between them, murmuring in sleep. John adjusted the blanket around their daughter. Anna rested her head on his shoulder. And on that balcony, suspended between earth and sky, the Gray family existed in perfect ordinary grace, proof that sometimes the stories the world refuses are the ones most worth telling. This story reminds us that broken doesn't mean worthless, and judgment doesn't define your future. Sometimes the institutions we trust most will fail us, but grace exists beyond their walls. Real love isn't found in perfection. It's built in the courage to choose each other when the world says you're wrong. Your mistakes don't disqualify you from happiness. Your past doesn't determine your worth. And sometimes the family that saves you isn't the one you were born into, but the one brave enough to claim you anyway. If this story moved you, subscribe, because tomorrow we have another powerful story about love defying impossible.